Welcome to Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy, where we seek to educate, motivate, and inspire professionals into starting their own healthcare businesses. Learn from leading healthcare entrepreneurs and other business experts as they share their journey and provide a glimpse into their playbooks for success. Loaded with valuable insights and actionable strategies, this show will guide you on your path to freedom. Now, please welcome your host, entrepreneur, healthcare practitioner, and MBA, Jason Duprat.
This episode is sponsored by my free presentation for the Ketamine Academy. If you're tired of long hours, constantly being on call, or having to give up your nights, weekends, and holidays, all for an employer that only thinks of you as a productivity number that they're trying to maximize, then it's time to break free from the hospital grind, become your own boss, and finally take control of your professional trajectory. It's time you start your own practice. I know it sounds really scary, maybe even a little impossible. I get it. You got student loans, you're working tons of hours, and you may not even be a physician. Well, I am here to tell you that it's absolutely possible. Starting my own clinic was exactly how I started my healthcare entrepreneur career, and there's one specific type of clinic that almost anybody can open. Ketamine therapy is one of the most promising treatments in the fight against depression, PTSD, and chronic pain that we've ever seen. And thousands of patients across the country are looking for clinics in their area. The problem is that there aren't enough yet, and these patients need someone like you to open a ketamine practice in your hometown. Go to ketamineacademy.com/presentation for a no-cost 60-minute training on how to gain more freedom by opening up your own clinic. On the presentation, you'll discover why opening your own private clinic is a better decision than working more overtime or going back to school for another degree, why this one specific niche clinic is the easiest to open and doesn't require a bunch of cash to start, and how anyone can open this type of clinic, even if you're not a physician, by just following a few simple steps. So to register for this free training, just go to ketamineacademy.com/presentation. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy podcast. I'm your host, Jason Duprat. I'm also the founder of the IV Academy and the Ketamine Academy, where we teach the art, science, and business of IV nutritional therapy, as well as ketamine therapy. So we are back here again for another Tactical Tuesday episode. And on these episodes, we dive deep into a little tactical lesson, something that we've been implementing or learning about. And we share that with you to hopefully help shortcut your path to success as a healthcare entrepreneur. And today I wanted to talk about running competitive ads. So by that, I mean running ads directly against your competitor or putting them directly in front of your competitors' customers or potential customers. So I want to talk a little bit about how to best do that, how it's possible, sort of what that looks like, and some do's and don'ts around running competitive ads. So when it comes to the do's, I think that Obviously, you really want to be doing this. This is pretty low-hanging fruit when it comes to the marketing arena. In running paid ads, you typically can get a pretty good ROI on this as long as you set them up well. I definitely think you should be doing this. I think the content should be educational. And so whether that's written copy or a video sales letter or a video presentation, a video ad of some sort, this should be pretty educational in nature. I mean, essentially, you just want to let them know that your product exists and maybe some reasons why it's better than the competitor's product. So you can potentially mention some shortcomings of a competitor's product. You can highlight the key points of your product, where your product excels. Is it better features? Is it better functions? Is it better price? Is it better service? Whatever it is that your product or service is better at, you definitely want to highlight those in the form of some education. And you really want to drive that home, but you want to do it in a way that is essentially not aggressive, not in a trash talking sort of way. You don't want to beat down your competitors. you want to highlight why your company or your business or your product or your service is better, but you don't want to do it in a way that brings the competitor down or does it in a negative way, like mudslinging, I think is what they call it in politics, where you're just running somebody through the mud and trying to make them look as bad as possible. So definitely don't recommend doing it in such a negative, aggressive sort of trash talking way like you see in all the politicians doing nowadays, seems like. But just be professional about it. You know, highlight those things that you do better and highlight the things that the competition doesn't do so well. And then one thing when it comes to sort of calling out your competition, one thing you want to be careful of is you probably don't want to call them out by name. You can, I've seen that done, but you better have your facts right. And I would probably even consult an attorney before specifically mentioning your competitor by name, because you can possibly be setting yourself up for some legal implications if you say something that is not 100% accurate. Or maybe you make an ad and you highlight a negative feature of a competitor and you name that competitor. Well, then maybe a few weeks later, your competitor fixes that negative feature and you're continuing to run that ad. Then essentially your ad is false. And so you don't want to be in the situation where your marketing material is presenting false information, because that can set you up for legal trouble. So I would not recommend specifically calling out your competition by name without consulting a legal consultant, an attorney, and then making sure that whatever your facts that you're stating, they're 100% accurate. That's really, really important. Some things that you want to do when you're running competitive ads is to target, obviously, your competitor's brand name. I think that's a great idea. Some people don't think that that's a responsible thing to do. I totally don't get that argument whatsoever. Completely disagree that you should not be directly targeting a competitor's brand name. For example, if somebody were searching in Google for, I don't know, let's just use clothing as an example, and they're searching for a brand, say American Eagle or something. You, as a possible competitor of American Eagle, maybe you have your own clothing brand name, you are certainly going to use American Eagle as a keyword to show your ad in front of somebody who's potentially searching for the American Eagle website to go purchase something from them. Some people have the opinion that that is not ethical marketing because American Eagle worked hard to essentially acquire that customer, and that because that customer is going and typing in the specific name of, for example, American Eagle, that you shouldn't be sort of going in there and trying to sneak in and steal their business. I'd completely disagree with that. If your product is better, and it's the consumer's choice, they should be made aware that if maybe they're searching for American Eagle, but maybe your product is better. Maybe you have better designs. Maybe you have better pricing. Maybe you have better service. Whatever it is, you should be able to get yourself in front of that customer and say, hey, check out what I have to offer. This is why you may want to consider. And it's their choice. So the people who think that that's unethical marketing, I think, is absolutely crazy. Business is competition. Business is an extremely competitive environment, and you have to do what it takes, ethically, obviously, and within reason, to acquire new customers. And obviously, as long as you're doing it in an honest, ethical way, you're telling the truth about your product. If you're doing a comparison, you're honestly comparing in a professional, non-aggressive, non-trash talking way. I think that's completely fine. And I think you're crazy if you don't do something like that, especially if there's a competitor out there that has a really sort of prominent brand name. Pretty much every business does that. And so to not do that, you're setting yourself behind the eight ball. So I really think that that's something you should really be considering for sure. And so you also, in addition to targeting like a specific brand name or company name, you want to target relevant phrases. And so things like, I don't know, what would somebody search for if they're searching for American Eagle apparel, maybe just apparel store, or maybe they're searching for American Eagle alternatives, something like that, or maybe retail apparel, different keywords that you can think of that somebody might be searching who may be looking for either directly for your competitor or you. So if you have that ad and you're targeting those key phrases in your paid ads, then you're going to show up as an ad. And then you have the possibility to get your information in front of that potential customer. And I think these are really great strategies. I think that everybody should be implementing them if there's competition in the area, especially if there's a competitor with a really well-established brand name. I think you can do this on Google and you can do it on Facebook. I also think that you should be doing a little bit of competitor spying. Now, I'm not a big fan of like obsessing about what your competitors are doing, but if you're newer to the market and there's somebody who's pretty well established and maybe they're running, for example, Facebook ads, and you have no idea where to start with your Facebook ads, you can literally start doing some competitor spying. So if you go onto your competitor's business page, and on the left-hand side, if you're on desktop, under info and ads, you can actually see every ad that they've ever run. And so you can check the engagement on those ads, the comments, the likes, things like that. And that can give you some clues as to whether that style of ad is something that maybe you want to use as a model. I don't recommend copying anything like exactly, but you can use that as a model and sort of use that to guide your first ad. So you're not starting from zero. There's no sense in recreating the wheel from ground zero. You should be building upon those who have gone before you. And so take an example, use somebody as an example that's seems like it's been performing well, somebody's ad, and modify that in your own way and start there. So in addition to going straight to their business page and finding the info and ads button on the menu on the left there, you can also use different softwares, and one of them is called Big Spy, and you can use this software and it will help give you even more information on your competitors. And so all of these things are great ways. There's a bunch of others, but these are good starting points to sort of use what your competitor has already done, try investigating what they've done well, and then sort of capitalizing on that, as well as calling them out for things that they haven't done well and letting, in a nice professional way, potential customer know what it is that you do better and why they may want to consider choosing you and your service. And so these are all hopefully helpful tips for you guys. This is something that we just recently implemented in some of our Google ads. So far, the results seem to be pretty decent. We are in super niche markets, so the data takes a while to come in when you're in such a niche market, but I'll keep you posted on how those changes work for us. I think they're going to work well. And if you're in a very broad or a much broader market than we are, you're going to be able to get your data super fast. So you can literally turn on these ads, maybe spend $50 to $100 a day for a couple of days, get some data points, some data collected. And then if it doesn't work, you turn them off and you try a different style of ad, or you try a different keyword, or you try a different competitor. And so a lot of this is trial and error. And essentially, you will spend a little bit of money to learn. Hopefully, if you hit the nail on the head on the first try, you might get a great ad that's producing a great return on investment right off the bat. So that's sort of how ads work, and that's how you sort of use them to essentially run them against your competition. Yeah, so I hope you guys find this super helpful, and thanks for tuning in to this episode. And just a reminder, today we actually launched the second Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy Facebook group. So now we have two groups. One is Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy Facebook group for digital entrepreneurs or digital businesses, and the other one is for brick and mortar. So there's two separate groups, and the idea will be to keep the conversation sort of separate. There's not a whole lot of overlap when it comes to the discussions and the questions that those types of businesses have. Physical businesses have, in most cases, far different problems and questions than a digital business or an online business. And so having those two separate groups will help us keep those things, the conversation separate, so you can find discussions that are relevant to you and the business you want to start or the business you already have as quick as possible. Also, there's a search function in Facebook, in a Facebook group, in case you didn't know about it. So there's a search. It's literally a search box. It's on the left-hand side if you're on desktop, or I think it's in the top center if you're on mobile. But in a Facebook group, after, it's been around for a while and there's been thousands of conversations and tens of thousands of comments, sometimes it gets hard. Things get sort of buried down in there. So there's a search key. So if you're searching for, male practice policy carriers for ketamine practices, you can literally search for conversations that have already happened in that Facebook group. So that's another useful tool that I know a lot of people haven't become familiar with. So in these Facebook groups, you can go back and search all the discussion history and find anything relevant to what you're looking for. So I highly encourage you to join those Facebook groups, whichever one you're interested in, or both. To find them, you'll go to facebook.com, and in that top search bar, the main search bar there, you'll just type in Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy. You should see both of those Facebook groups come up. Request to join, and you'll be good to go. We'll get you in within usually 24 to 48 hours. Anyways, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will check you on the next one.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy. Want to connect with more like-minded healthcare entrepreneurs and professionals? Just head over to jasonduprat.com/group to join our Facebook family for real-time interactions, insight, and resources to get you one step closer to realizing your goal. We look forward to interacting with you, but until then, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy.